Hello, people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to the DCS news for the 29th of March 2025. I hope you all enjoyed that, my most recent video all about the Apache. This time we were looking at the air targeting mode of the FCR, the Fire Control Radar, and yeah, in future videos we're going to go over GTM and the radar mapping modes and all that sort of jazz. So continuing the series on the Apache. Welcome to the stream, Tea Kettle Barbecue, Fair FM, Mr. Yeti, Pink Floyd, buongiorno, buongiorno. And someone else that we'll say hello to just now is the one and only John Bluer. Your video's dead. There we go. I keep forgetting that full screening a window makes Discord go funky. So hopefully, there we go. You're not broken just now. You're working. Terribly sorry. You were invisible.
We really do need to figure out a more what do you call it, dedicated system for this.
Yes, yeah. This is literally just a Discord bug. I don't know what other people do. Maybe there's like there must be like dedicated like streaming software that can be used for exactly this. Yeah, because I can take inputs, like OBS can take inputs from like just pure video feeds. So I guess we just need to figure out something like that. In any case, welcome. Yeah. And as Pink Floyd says, a little bit of a quiet week. We don't have a huge amount of stuff going on. There was only really kind of two smaller items notable in the Eagle Dynamics news. But we also have, we had a little thing that our boy Daddy Wags was talking about. And seeing as how I've just mentioned it, how about we go crazy and we just jump straight into that one first, and we'll do the newsletter after.
You're a madman, but yeah, go for it.
I've lost my mind. So yes, we had this on the DCS forums from Wags himself. Dear all, we've reached a milestone developing the new ATC system for DCS, and we now require a small group of military ATC to consult with and help provide voice-over support. If you are an active or retired military ATC controller and wish to assist, please message me. So, Wags asking for all of you ex-military boys to slide into his DMs.
Yeah, well, this is a if they're starting to get voice stuff in, that tells me that they're pretty far into the development of the ATC. That you wouldn't start. I mean, you'd have like placeholders for when things are going to be played, like audio bits and stuff. And it also says, because I don't know if you remember, he was talking in the Q&A whether they go an AI route or whether they go a pre-voiced route.
Yeah.
And I suspect this is my suspicion is that they're going with the obviously a voiced one, which I think is the more ethical decision at this stage. AI is a bit up in the air yet with these kinds of things. Also, it gets a bit weird with stuff. With like you wouldn't. I've actually heard about people using AI APIs and plugins, and then whether they lose the support or there's some sort of weird licensing issue, and then the end user's like, crap, we've got this whole system that relies on this piece of software, and it's kind of all falling through. So at least, sounds weird, but at least if you've got some voice actors or whatever and SMEs for that, that's much more reliable, isn't it? It's much more kind of, if anything goes wrong, you kind of go back to them. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if they will probably get them to do loads of extra lines, loads of extra bits and pieces they need, just so as they go on, they can do things. Apparently, there's, if I remember rightly, reading somewhere for the Apache, there's loads of, no one's heard them, but there's like bits in some of the files where there's loads of lines for George that we haven't even heard yet, just like references in code and stuff. So there's probably, when I think it was Casmo who did that, wasn't it, if I remember rightly?
Yes, that's right.
George, at least the front seater version of George. There's probably loads of stuff they've got in the library. So yeah, it's cool. I like the idea that we're getting further with this. I can't remember who it was, but I was watching a streamer. It might have been Tricker, it might have been someone else, but they were doing Falcon BMS, and again, another example of Falcon BMS being way ahead, even though it's technically very old now. 30 years old almost or something
Yeah, it's coming up on
ridiculously.
30 years old at this stage.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing that I'll say, just a slightly different point of view here.
Mm.
The statement does not preclude that they're using AI. I've been involved in
No.
projects in the past where we both recorded lines and then also trained an AI on my lines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So my previous employer, some of you may or may not know,
Mm,
Paradox, have
mm.
made games in the past where, yeah, we've recorded voice lines and then also trained AI models on those voice lines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's another option as well. I was going to mention that. Yeah, you're 100% right. I could see them maybe doing the training stuff with the AI, the voice, and then kind of banking that when they need it.
yeah, I should swiftly add, none of that was ever used in an actual released game. So,
Mm,
but yeah, we did do it. We played around with it.
yeah.
Mr. Yeti, I yes, saw this earlier in the week and had forgotten about it. A Golden Gnu, I
Mm,
guess they're not going to use an AI then. Well, like I said, maybe, most likely they're not. But
no,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, you never know. Pink Floyd, I
Mm.
could do the voice for the DEI hire who knows nothing about the job. We'll put you in touch with Wags.
Yeah.
Um, do you make games? Says Mr. Yeti. Not anymore. I used to work in the games industry. I now do not. I've moved on to a different role.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is very exciting. And then of course, Stormbirds.blog, the wonderful source for all flight simulation news, wrote a short article about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically just repeating exactly what we said.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, their comment at the end. Not too many people out there in the DCS community will fit that category, but I'm sure some do. For the rest of us, however, it gives us a tantalizing nugget of information about how this long-awaited feature is progressing. It was only a
mm,
couple of weeks back that I was bemoaning the fact that we'd heard nothing about this in a while. Maybe
yeah.
Wags does watch our videos.
Yeah, imagine if he does. That'd be wild, wouldn't it? I'd also be really embarrassing because we're embarrassing. So
Uh-huh. Be very embarrassing because I constantly call him Daddy Wags and occasionally say uwu.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, like I was saying earlier on, like that. You watch something like BMS and the ATC is still more convincing. It's not
Yeah,
perfect, but it's more convincing than what we've got in DCS in 2025. So yeah, it's really good to see that they're doing it. You know what? Like we said the other day, a lot of people were saying DCS needs to work more on core. It needs to focus on more things like this. It's more
they
argument that they
clearly
are.
are. They
They
clearly
clearly
are.
are. Yeah, yeah. I think they know. Like, I think there was a period, wasn't there, a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, where it was very module heavy,
Yeah.
and it was starting to flag. And I think we've had the DLSS, we've had multi-threading, we've had a bunch of optimizations for other things. They're talking about Vulkan in
Well,
serious ways.
supposedly, Vulcan is kind of there,
Mm,
but I think they want it to be more polished before they release it.
yeah. Yeah, and there's also talk of, I spotted this in the forums. We've now got the new, is it DLSS 4?
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's like 3, and it's technically not called 4. It's called like 3 point something, but people are referring it to 4. There's
Yeah,
also like modes, isn't it? It's like mode K and mode L. There's different. Because apparently with different DLSS models, it works better with different games and different applications and stuff.
and of course we
Um,
shouldn't forget AMD people with their FSR, which is the
yeah,
same tech basically. Um,
yeah, pretty much.
I want to put this out to chat a little bit. Do any of you use frame generation technologies? Because I've played around with them, and I have to say, in my humble opinion, all of them are trash.
Mm,
Because, especially in a flight, they're probably fine in certain applications, but in a flight simulator, there's usually too much motion, and you end up with so much ghosting. And I also find that, like, the clarity of displays, especially like glass cockpit
mm,
avionics, is so degraded by it that I
mm,
cannot tolerate it. Now,
mm,
I realize that it's not as bad as I'm putting out there, but everybody has these kind of, there's certain rough edges that really irritate you, and that's one of
mm,
them. Graphical I don't care about amazing graphics. I care about graphical fidelity. I
mm,
want it to be crisp. I don't care if it's like 4K HDR, blah blah blah.
mm,
I just don't want it to be bitty and grainy and blurred and have ghosting. Like,
mm,
any kind of graphical artifacts just immediately freak me out, and I can't deal
mm.
with them. And for me,
So,
frame generation always creates artifacts.
I agree with you. So there's apparently this new DLSS 4, especially for one place I saw it a lot was on the MFDs on a lot of aircraft, and a really obvious place you'd see it is on the radar. As you see the scope,
Yes.
the bar going across, it would just be like a smudge. Now I've literally seen a video. They're out there of people kind of injecting the new DLSS, and it is massively improved with the newest models.
Okay.
So it's not perfect, but it's massively improved. So that would be interesting to see as this software improves. That said, though, I've been playing that. Have you seen that new RoboCop game? It's actually awesome if you're
Oh,
a
it
fan of like
looks really
RoboCop.
good, but I've not played
It's
it.
it's great. It's great. It's actually, believe it or not, that I've been doing more like detective work than I have walking around with that cool gun, shooting people, going drop it, group, and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things when I first jumped into it, it has like an auto tunes, reads your sys settings and gives you recommended settings.
Ah,
But it turned on DLSS, and I had this weird thing, especially in interiors, where the lighting is doing. It looks like a flickering fluorescent light. It's just doing this weird shimmering.
yeah.
And I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And then I looked online, and people said it's DLSS. So I turned it
Just
off,
turn it
and
off. Yeah.
immediately it was so much better. And my PC is not crap, so luckily I was like, "Yeah, maybe I've lost a couple frames, but it's better than walking around and it looks like I'm in a rave."
Yes.
So
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not there. And I've also, this is a side thing as well, but like people have been talking about the new 50 series GeForce cards, and apparently they rely a little bit too much on this frame generation stuff.
Mm.
And there's a bit of a hoo-ha about, a lot of the computing power of them. They are powerful, but are they relying too much on frame generation and all these sorts of things?
Yeah.
And
Because
are you really getting horsepower?
what I will say is obviously, the smoothness and the frame rate, yes, they're amazing with these technologies turned on. It is super,
Mm,
super, super smooth. Um,
yeah.
but I have to say, like, so many of the videos that Eagle Dynamics put out on Instagram or on YouTube Shorts and similar ones where it's like very short format ones, they usually have it turned on and I can immediately see it every single time. So yeah,
Yeah.
super smooth, super fantastic, but I'm immediately seeing all the artifacts.
Mhm.
And I think it looks bad. I just think it looks bad and I can't deal with it. And maybe that's more
Yeah.
about me than it's anything else.
Well, one thing they fixed recently, and now you talk about your rough edge that bothers you, and I
Yeah.
thought to myself that would definitely make Deep very happy. Did you notice they got rid of the thing where if there's a jet in front of you, if you're taxiing and you got your HUD, it would make your HUD like you get the heat blur on your HUD. They've now got rid of that, so it doesn't do it anymore. And I was immediately like, Deep would be very happy about that
That
one.
you have correctly identified one of the things that always really irritated me. I hated that. It's like heat blur can't be affecting my HUD.
Yeah.
So let's
Uh,
see what chat are saying about it.
yeah.
Mr. Yeti would love to see a Super 3.0 update with campaigns, etc. New sling load and tanker hose dynamic. Oh,
Mm,
we've not even heard about the tanker hose dynamics for a while.
yeah.
I think Wags did comment at one stage that it was way harder than they realized it was going to be,
Mm,
and so I wonder if that's actually ended up on the back burner.
yeah.
Um, Mr. Yeti tried it in VR, but loads of ghosting, so turned it off. That's actually, yeah, I forgot to mention, I mostly fly in VR, and of course, the ghosting and artifacting in VR with technologies like DLSS is 100% worse. Like, it's bad enough
Mm,
on a flat screen, but as soon as you go into VR and you're shifting in three axes, your point of view, and you're getting like streaking in all three axes, it's like, oh,
mhm.
ugh,
Horrible. It's like
horrible.
when I boot a game up, the first thing I turn off is film grain and motion blur. I
Ah,
hate those two because they just do the same. I don't know if you have that
yes,
on certain games. If they hitch for a second, you're just the whole screen will look like someone smeared Vaseline along it, and
yeah.
I'll literally funny enough with motion blur, I'll get motion sickness.
Yes. Yeah, motion blur. There is no reason to have motion blur unless
Yeah.
you're recording a cinematic or something.
Mm,
Like in actual live gameplay, no.
yeah.
And the kind of forced depth of field as well. Like
Mm,
that's also sorry, we're totally going on a tangent now. But
yeah.
for me, that is utterly bizarre to include in a game because
Mm,
surely in a game we're simulating the human eye.
mm.
So why are you simulating a cinematic effect that people achieve with lenses when you're supposed to be using a human eyeball to, you're supposed to be a person in the game,
Yeah.
not a
Yeah. Yeah.
camera. So
I I
mm,
could understand it if you're playing like Uncharted games or something, and you want to have that kind of Indiana Jones feel as your characters running around and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe you'd want some cinematic effects. But like you said, agreed. Like you get like lens flares and stuff. And you're like, hang on, I don't get a lens flare in my eye. If I
If
did,
you're getting
it's pretty like cataracts.
yeah, yeah, if you're getting lens flare with your eyes, you're gonna need a different prescription, I think.
Yeah.
That's not what
Yeah.
should be happening.
Yeah.
Golden GNU, yes, I'm on an old PC, so I use DLSS on quality mode in a 1080 screen. It's pretty good.
Mm,
It gets better. They all have that kind of slider between like performance and quality. Yes, if you
mm,
bump them into the quality setting, they get better. Um, but yeah, like I was playing around with it in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 recently because sometimes my frames are not great in that, and I actually have a pretty good PC, but
mm.
MSFS 2024 is quite demanding. And yes, it runs like butter with frame generation turned on, but then I tend to fly Airbus, and I look down at my displays and I can hardly read them. So it's like, yeah, not great.
It makes you wonder if there's not a way. I know this is like not how it probably works, but you'd think like, could you not disable? Could you have a script running where it like disables frame generation over like a portal or a screen or something? Does that make sense? Could you
Yeah,
have it where
yeah,
it emits? That's kind of the answer in a way if you're gonna do it for something like that.
absolutely. I would suspect that that is possible, but technically very, very complicated to achieve.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be pretty sure you could do that.
Mm.
Blah, blah, blah. What are we talking about here? Mangash, I refrain from using that frame gen black magic. Yes. Um, Digital M3. I don't know what your username is. I'm going to call you Digital. I'm using Model J with my Pimax, and it's very clear. I don't know what Model J is. That sounds very interesting. Please tell us more. Golden GNU, I'm on a GTX 2070. DLSS more than doubles my FPS, which matters a lot for input lag. Totally agree. Like, that's the thing. These technologies are delivering smoothness in abundance. Frame rates are crazy. Responsiveness is crazy. Like, it's really, really good. This is a
Mm.
me, again, this is a me problem. I just can't tolerate it.
Mm.
Digital, if you eliminate bloom, motion blur, and set the anti-aliasing to TAA instead of DLSS DLNA, you solve most of the ghosting. Very interesting. Okay, thank you. That's something to try.
Mm.
Vitor, DCS DLSS is pretty good. I use quality with zero point 0.4 sharpness. I haven't
Mm.
used it since the initial implementation, to be totally honest. I made a video. Uh, People may or may not remember. This must be 2 years ago now when they first dropped the frame gen tech, and I did side by side comparisons of the previous patch, which had none of it implemented, the new patch with it implemented, but with all the features turned off because there was a difference,
Mm.
and then turning all those features on. The funny thing was, the performance improved quite a lot, even with these features turned off in the patch where they added it. So they'd obviously done a whole load of background optimization as well.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, my preferred setup was the new patch, but with those features actually turned off because I already got improved performance anyway, and I could actually read text. So
Mm.
I stuck with that. Anyway, I think I've totally derailed this discussion long enough. Let's jump into the news.
Mm.
Dear fighter pilots, partners, and friends, as always. So yeah, we've got updates to the dev update for the CH-47F. I've got to say, I'm really excited about the Chinook. I've intentionally not dived too much into it because it does feel a little bit unfinished. But as they're adding more and more stuff, this is absolutely going to be at least partially my jam. Like,
Mm.
I like the idea of doing transport ops. I like the idea of doing sling loads. Setting up FARPs, all the kind of stuff they promised us, and it looks pretty good.
Mm.
I already like what they've achieved. I'm just kind of slightly put off by the missing features. This is also why I didn't dive too much into the Apache until quite recently, because I was
Mm.
like, this is an excellent product. I love what they're doing here, but there are too many bits where it's like not implemented, not implemented, not implemented.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have to deal with that.
The biggest
Anyway,
thing that's kind of kept me away from the Chinook is all of the digital flight control systems because they're so reliant on each other.
Yeah.
until like you're getting a piece of the puzzle each time they add a new part of the functions, but they're all tuned to each other. So I'm finding with the Chinook, I've flown it a bit. It's really good,
Yeah.
freaking fast, and it loves to now fly very level and straight. But the issue I have with it at the moment is when you come to slow down and then you come to the hover and into a land, it floats and then all of a sudden it just falls out the sky. It's really difficult to get a sense of like where that power setting is. It kind of doesn't really know what it's doing. And I spoke to someone the other day about it, and they're like, it's because of the it's a lot of to do with the flight control systems as they're like hand because it's kind of going between. It's a bit like the Apache when you're in a certain mode. You know, if you it all depends on what speed you are and all that kind of stuff. The
Yeah.
digital control systems are kind of doing different stuff based upon your flight regime. And yeah, they said it's doing weird stuff. It's not quite there yet. So like you said, I'm kind of leaving it alone. That was always my argument for the F-15. I was going to deep dive on the F-15, but I was like, I'll wait until it's you know, further on, and then
Stop it. Stop it. Don't make me
yeah,
sad.
and we are where we are now. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
damn it,
Although
jinxed it.
maybe, maybe that we're turning a corner with that one. If they start developing the F-15 again, I will be exceptionally happy. Like
Yeah,
I will turn my playlist right back on for those tutorials, and I will deep dive into that bad boy. But
yeah,
anyway, we know that.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, they're refining existing features and adding new ones, resulting in a longer than anticipated development phase. Work continues on MFD pages and CDU controls, advanced digital automated flight control systems, I'm going to
I think that's right.
guess, hover functions, improved flight planning, an extended range fuel system, and a more robust damage model. And we're going to get some more detail below. That's the other thing that I like about the Chinook is it's the first aircraft where we have a full implementation of a CDU. Well, actually, wait now. No, I'm talking nonsense. The A10 has a very well. The thing is, this aircraft has a modern CDU that's kind of close to what an airliner has.
Yeah.
The A10's one is a strange custom beast, which doesn't really bear any resemblance to anything you'd see in the commercial world. So I guess
Mm.
this is what I mean. This has a CDU as we would know it, whereas the A10
Yeah.
CDU is very custom.
I got very nerdy the other day, and I downloaded the I think it's the NATOPS for the. This is available publicly, by the way, before anyone gets War Thundery on me.
Uh huh.
I downloaded the NATOPS for the AH1 whiskey, and
Ooh.
I dived into that, and it's very interesting, and I learned some bits and pieces about it. It's really cool. Um, One of the things I found out is the little heads up, what not the heads up, the HMD, both the pilot and the co-pilot have it, and the HMD is more like the, do you know the one that's in like the MiG-29 whatever? It's just basically all the K-50. It's very just kind of it
Yeah.
aims for you. It's just a reference for where you're looking. It doesn't really give you any information.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did a deep dive on that. I got geeky, and yeah, that thing's got like almost like a bare bones version of what's in the A10. It's got like a CDU, like a weird little CDU. It's almost like a precursor to it. I don't know what you'd call it, but
Huh.
that's where you put in all the waypoints and all that kind of stuff. Because most of it in the helicopter is like one MFD that's in the front, and that's it. And it's all you know,
Analog.
analog. So you've got that. That's your literally your only digital sort of thing is the little CDU in the front and the back. So I was like, that's cool.
That's pretty
So yeah,
cool. I wonder if they've got like kind of the old school switch for the nav system where you can just flip between like nav
yeah,
or radio navigation, like
yeah,
and then it just drives a mechanical HSI off of
yeah,
those signals.
yeah. I would say
Tricker's
it's
in the chat. Hello, Tricker. I'm here to
oh hey
talk
hey.
about the latest pilot models. They 3D scanned John's body.
That'll explain why they're all so hunky. I couldn't believe it.
Anatomically correct.
Yeah. I was wondering
Nice.
where they got that chest hair pattern from.
Oh yes, right down to his feet, chat.
Yeah.
Anyway, and yeah, they're pleased to share progress on our upcoming A10C pilot model, meticulously designed to capture both authentic gear and the distinct aesthetic of the Warthog driver. From the helmet's custom visor mechanisms to the fine stitching on the flight suit pockets, every detail has been carefully researched and reproduced for a more immersive experience. Please check out the development screenshots, and we've got development screenshots. Let's take a little peek here.
Mm,
For some reason, strangely low res, but we have development screenshots.
yeah.
And yes, this looks good. We only have two for some reason. We've got these two
Mm.
images.
There's a couple in the actual what do you call it in the newsletter.
In the
Good ones.
newsletter,
Yeah. There you
it's
go.
this.
There's two there.
It's the same
They're
two
slightly
though,
different.
right? Oh, it's a
Two different
different
images.
angle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if I click it, it gives me a completely different set of images. Like, I have to say, whoever does whoever does the newsletters for ED, they always do this. They include
Mm,
images in the newsletter, and then when you click on those images, it gives you completely different images. It's like,
yeah.
guys, please.
And also, Instagram will have different images.
Yeah,
Twitter will have different images. Facebook will have different images. It's like they're not consistent with what they're uploading to places. It's really weird.
yeah.
Very strange.
Anyway,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Really happy about this. I really like the A10. I have not flown it in such a long time.
Mm,
But when they did their kind of like version 2 of the A10C, I was so happy. Like the Scorpion helmet mounted queuing system and display. It's like, oh, so
mm,
nice. So nice.
yeah.
I will be doing a tutorial series on it. Uh, might be the one I do after the Apache. I put
Mm,
the kind of vote out there for chat when I was deciding which one to do next, and they decided it should be the Apache. But I think it's about time I did the A10C. I haven't done it up until now because, to be totally honest, I was actually a little bit overwhelmed by the thought of doing it because it's much like, actually, if anything, I'm even more overwhelmed by the Apache, but I've done it anyway. But
yeah.
the A10 is just so complex; it has so much going on. But
Mm.
I'll break it down into bite-sized chunks as I always do, and we'll get there.
It's a HOTAS beast for sure. You have to know all of your binds and all that kind of stuff. And the worst thing is a lot of the TGP stuff of the HOTAS, you hit the wrong button and it just like slews back to something else. And you're like, damn it! You have to kind of get your bearings again. So yeah, I remember that much.
Yeah, we need to put Homer Simpson saying "do" onto a
Yeah,
soundboard for that one.
yeah.
So yeah, we've got some Chinook development progress. So yeah, they've been adding new features and tuning it as they've said. Did they really say anything different in this than they've? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So currently they're focused on the DAFCS or DAFCS. I know that the Americans like to say their acronyms. Actually, I was doing videos about the Harrier many moons ago with actual. It was the subject matter experts from Rasbam for the Harrier. One of the guys was like a ex U.S. Marine instructor on the Harrier, and he was
Mm.
constantly telling me off for like, no, you have to say the acronyms, don't say the individual letters. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, which include hover mode. So yeah, they're implementing the hover mode. Digital Advanced Flight Control System native functions will include inertial, radar altimeter holds, velocity, and position hold. Other items in development include new flight planning functionality. Flight planning functionality sounds like we're getting some kind of cartridge.
Mhm.
An improved damage system and more paint schemes. The extended range fuel system is also in development.
Cool.
Yeah, very much looking forward to this. Like I said earlier, as the Chinook reaches a more complete state, I will be all over this because this is my kind of machine. I'm an avionics boy. I like to press buttons. I like lots of screens. I like lots of modes. Give it to me.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
like.
I'd be really curious at much later down the line if they ever follow up with the do you remember, is it the Fat Cow, where
Hmm.
they stick a big fuel bladder and a bunch of ammo in the back of it, and it's basically like a mobile FARP for
They've already said that they will do that eventually,
yeah,
but I
that'd
think
be
that's
great.
going to be right at the end of development, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, nice. And then, yep, as we said, laser scanned John Bluer pilot model. Here it is for the A10C2. Um, we are
Yeah.
excited to unveil our updated A10C pilot designed with highly accurate gear and visuals. The new Scorpion helmet features a lightweight shell and tinted visor with realistic wear and tear markings. Auction mask connectors and straps have been precisely modelled to move naturally with the pilot's head turns, creating a more authentic VR or track IR experience. I have to say, what they did with the Viper and the Hornet in this regard is stunning.
Mm,
It looks really good. So if they're
yeah.
doing the same thing here, that's nice.
Mhm.
The flight
That's
suit
really
is
cool.
crafted from flame retardant Nomex like material, complete with realistic folds, wrinkles, and carefully placed pockets. Buckles, harness straps, and G suit elements match real world hardware. We will continue refining textures, visor reflections, and movement physics for the oxygen hose to ensure a truly lifelike representation when piloting the Hog. We look forward to implementing final touches and launching this updated pilot model soon. Keep an eye out for patch notes and thank you for your continued support and feedback. when
That's
I'm
cool.
reading stuff like this, like the newsletter, I always like in my head, I'm always thinking about doing the BBC journalist voice. I don't know if you're familiar with this, like the
Yeah.
way that they emphasize words.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do it right now, but there is a very very particular way. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they do. It's a bit like was it Brass Eye? They used to nail it
Yes,
perfectly.
yes,
Yeah, if you remember Brass Eye. We
yeah,
look forward to implementing the final touches and
yeah. That's
launching
it.
this updated pilot model soon. They they have this weird like way of talking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the thing is that there's some variations to it, but I
yeah,
really, really like it, and it is like it's almost random placement of emphasis.
yeah,
And the thing is, it works. It makes
yeah,
you listen. It does
yeah,
make
yeah,
you listen, and you process what they're saying.
yeah.
But yeah, like if you could imagine being at a party and somebody spoke like that, it would be the most bizarre experience.
You'd be like, "You okay? You having a stroke? You're right."
Yeah. I just like another pint.
Have you seen? There used to be a show called Monkey Dust, and
Yes,
it
Monkey
was
Dust was
amazing.
brilliant.
Yeah, and it had a guy in it who's a BBC guy, and he spoke like that all the time, and
Yeah.
he'd be like, he'd have a row with his missus. He's like, "I fucking had it enough with you. I'm gonna go out with the lads."
Yes. Yeah, it's so
It was
good.
awesome. Ah, so good.
Oh
I just
dear.
reminded me of Monkey Dust. If you've never seen Monkey Dust, watch Monkey Dust. It's
Check it.
great.
Monkey Dust is brilliant.
It's fantastic.
Trigger, what's crazy to me is the A10 has been out the longest and it's one of the last aircraft to get the pilot model. Okay, yeah, fair,
Yeah, yeah.
fair. But I have to say, the current standard of the A10, pretty
Mm,
damn good. The
mm,
aircraft is good.
mm,
Vitor, I get it that for VR it's a neat feature, but for flat screen pilot and stick models are off 100% of the time. For flat
mm,
screen pilot and stick models are off 100% of the time. Okay.
mm.
I'm not 100% sure what you mean, but well, I also get like the priority here. Yeah, if you're flying in VR, it is very, very immersive to have the pilot body there. And then I guess the other people who really like it are the people filming cinematics and such like.
Yeah.
They want to see it there.
Mm. I like to
Uh,
turn it on when I'm what I tend to do, say I'm in the Harrier or something. Once you're kind of fenced out and all your nozzles are in the right position and you don't really need to sort of worry about what's by your legs.
yeah,
I'll switch on the pilot model even because I fly flat screen and it's a little bit more immersive, isn't it? It's a bit
yeah.
nicer.
I,
So
I I
yeah,
do the same. Like I've got the pilot body hidden for startup, and then basically as soon as I go to taxi, I put it back on.
yeah, flick it back on.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
it's nice.
yeah, it's cool.
Golden Gnu, I wish the model would move out the way of the cursor.
Mm,
Well,
yeah.
actually, Razbam, wonderful, wonderful Razbam, not for the pilot model, but for stick and throttle, had a solution to this where you could actually make them transparent. And that was actually, I thought, really cool. That was a really
Yeah.
nice way of
You
doing
could
it.
you could do a thing around the cursor. Imagine you had the cursor. Do you know how you have if you press Alt L, you bring the flashlight up, right? And it
Yes.
follows the cursor, right? What if you had a button or a mode for the pilot model where if you bring the cursor up, it acts like imagine a transparency flashlight.
Yeah.
So you bring the cursor up, and if you go to put the cursor down by the legs, it makes that part of the legs transparent. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
That does make
Like
perfect sense. And the thing
that
is,
would be
the
really
moment
cool.
you started talking, I knew what you were going to say. and,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
agree.
That would be really cool because especially like because real life you'd be doing it it's tactile, isn't it? That's why you have things like castle switches and China
Yes.
hats and all that kind of stuff. It's so that you don't have to look, you feel around and go, yeah, I know where that is. And then in your brain, it's a bit like I always say to people, like once you live in your house for like 6 months, you can walk down the stairs in the middle of the night if you need
Yeah.
to go for a wee or something, and you just know the steps, don't you? Your brain maps the area. That's what happens in these jets. You map it. But you can't do that in a game because the mouse. There's no tactileness. There's no sense
Yeah.
of depth. So, and even if you're playing in VR, you can't do that really unless you were in like a literal sim pit, because things aren't in the right place compared to where you are. So, yeah, it'd be cool if that's one way you could do it where there's a mode. Do you only hit Shift P, and for some of them it's like Shift P brings up some of the cockpit. Like in a helicopter, if you hit Shift P multiple times, it brings up you, then the co-pilot and not you, and then both of you. Have you seen that before? And it does that.
Yes.
Like something like that. Like you hit Shift P again, and it has this mode for the cursor. That'd be really cool. Like
Strongly
that.
agree. Yes.
Mm.
Maybe
There you
Razbam will
go,
implement
Wags.
that.
Yeah, Wags or Brasbam, Ron Zambrano. If you're watching, he's probably not. He's probably on Twitter. Yeah, liking pictures he shouldn't be liking. But
I was just thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, he's probably looking at art.
art. And if he's watching, he's no longer watching anymore.
Yeah.
He's
Sorry.
like, block.
Sorry, Ron.
But yeah, no, that would be really cool. Trico raises a good point. The Harrier pilot model, I think, was the first really, really good one. I remember
Agreed.
when that was
Yeah.
the first one that came out that looked the bee's knees, and that set the bar. And then they raised it again when they brought out the F. I think AD were a little bit shit up when they saw the F-15 pilot model. They were like, "Oh!" And even the fact that you see the thumb move when you move castle switches and
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, in trim. I was like, "Ooh!"
Yeah,
And you notice all of a sudden the Hornet and the F-16, all of them are getting it. It's like, I see what you
a
did.
few of the models had already implemented that the buttons on your throttle and stick would depress, but there was no, your hands didn't move. So like it's like
Yeah.
ghost fingers pressing them. But yeah, Razbam, like brilliant, just brilliant. Some of the stuff they've implemented. Anyway, we now have AMVI Joint Thunder 2025, a live and dynamic theatre of war. The two coalitions, Blue and Red, face off in the Sinai Theatre in a large-scale strategic conflict. Blue's air superiority is countered by Red's formidable ground forces, creating a tactical balance that requires constant planning, coordination, and adaptation. Because I don't think adaptation is a word, so I'm not saying that. Oh no, adaptation is a word. What's wrong with my brain? Realistic missions and unit coordination. Every flight will have a decisive impact. Takeoffs, theatre entries, attacks, and returns will be managed by real human ATC, AWACS, and JTAC operators, ensuring an uncompromising level of realism. A refined and ever-evolving experience, Joint Thunder is not a competition, but a proving ground for pilots and squadrons where training and the ability to operate as a team are crucial. From air interdiction missions to ground troop support and airspace defense, every role will have a strategic impact. Joint Thunder 2025 begins on the 7th of April 2025. Join the AMVI Discord channel. I've never heard of this, but it sounds very exciting.
Very interesting. Is it kind of like a Shadow Reapers / contention kind of thing where, you've got your PvP, it sounds like, and you got to try and beat them back, and they got to beat you back, I guess. It's that kind of stuff. Typical conquest.
I honestly don't know. I don't know, but anyway, they've provided a Discord link in the newsletter, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, go and check it out. Sounds like a larf. And that's actually everything that I've got down for the news for this week. Have we missed anything, John Bloor? And have we missed anything, chat?
I don't think so. I think that covers everything, really. It's been a bit of a quieter one, I think. I think it will amp up a little bit. I think we're just in a quiet zone. I was having a look on the Stormburbs DCS DCS World Roadmap. Say that 5 times real quick. Seashells, seashore. Yeah, so I was having a look on there just before we came on stream, actually, and a lot of the stuff which was like for the core updates and stuff, there's certain ones where we're certainly way off, like Spherical Earth, and Vulcan API. It seems like they've said before they're fiddling around with it. I don't think it's
and the
here
tanker
right now.
hose physics.
Tanker hose physics, which is absolutely important. I need to see those hoses flapping around. And then I was looking through. I mean, some of them are like what you call incremental stuff, like for instance, improved radars, improved like weather, effects and things like that. You're going to see those iterations. They're gonna be a little bit better, a little bit better.
All I can say is Gib DTC.
Yeah, AT. Well, this is the thing. Yeah, DCC is a huge part. That's gonna because I think they want to tackle that all in one go, don't they? With like a bunch of aircraft.
Yeah.
And they're gonna also have to around that time hand that over to third parties, or at least the basic API, so that they can plug their stuff into it. Because you've obviously got DTC and things like. I mean, obviously Razbam is one story, but we do know at least like things like the F-15 and the Mirage and the Harrier have DTCs. Did the Kiowa? Kiowa didn't it? Yeah, it had like a little one behind. So there's all that sort of stuff.
Actually, I believe the Kiowa has 2, but it's like little. Now, they're maybe not actual SD cards, but I think it's like little SD cards, and it's got 2. One of them is like the terrain, like the kind of the map basically. One of them's the map, and the other one's like the mission card.
Yeah, yeah, mission cards. I think they're those old. Remember those ones you used to slot into like laptops? They're like you used to use them for like modems. I can't remember what they're called now.
Yeah.
They look like a tiny SSD. They're the really old school style like cards. They're those style things. But yeah, I mean we've got. I was just looking through. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I think are way off, like F-15C, F-35. I think I suspect the Hellcat and the Corsair are not a million miles away.
Mm.
And I also think that the Marianas World War II isn't a million miles away. And I wouldn't be surprised if they'll try and get those all out in quick succession. Does that make sense? So you've got all your toys, you got your sandbox, and you got your toys,
Yeah.
which would make complete sense to me. But then you've got like the F1 Mirage, we got the M,
Oh,
which
the
is
M.
being worked on,
Mm.
and,
Well,
and
well,
I
well,
can't imagine.
from now on, that's the model.
The Mirage, F1,
Mm.
So that I can't imagine is a gazillion miles away. Because again, it's not a brand new aircraft. It's mostly cockpit systems, isn't it? You're not looking at a
It's
jet with like they're not.
it
Yeah.
is the first time that Airgis are doing any glass in their
Mm,
cockpits, so they're probably going to have to learn how to do that.
yeah.
Um, but Airgis are pretty damn good.
Exactly. So you got that
Mm.
MiG 17 Red Star. There's the odd thing we see, isn't it? I mean, they've put some videos of like how it stalls and weird stuff that it does.
Mm.
Typhoon, that's pretty miles away. A6 Intruder, even further. A7
Tornado.
Corsair, Tornado is a little further away. But the C-130 seemed like it was progressing. I'd be really curious to see where that is.
Yeah.
We've heard very little on the A1H Sky Raider. That's
Hmm.
cross tails. F-104, that's obviously Urges. We've got this new Su-25. Is it, isn't it? FC3 level. No, it's not really ultimately clear what we're quite doing with that.
No, I
Um,
think they were fairly clear that it was going to be FC level. It's not going to
Is
be
it FC
clickable.
level?
Yeah.
It seems like a weird one to redo if you're
Mm.
just going to do it FC. Because I suspect even if they do it FC, are they going to do it FC and then down the line, as they get more data or something, they'll use those models and some of that framework. Just a weird one, just to
Yeah.
put all that effort into just specifically the Su-25A as well. It's not even the T, is it? It's
Yeah.
the A model that they're doing. It's a weird one. And then obviously there's all the Raspberry stuff, which is kind of
Who knows?
a little bit out there. The M105 as well is a little bit
MiG 29.
murky. MiG 29, that's way off. I don't actually think the 15C and the MiG 29 are a gazillion miles away because they've said that both of them will be using the same flight model, haven't they? They said the flight model is
Yeah.
going to
For
be the same.
the FC3 flight models are very good. So like, there's no
Mm,
reason not to just use them, and they are EFM.
copy
So
paste. Yeah, you
yeah,
got PCMIA. That's it. Digital Merc said it. Yeah,
yeah.
PCMIA. That's those cards. You're bang on it.
Is
Um,
that what the Kiowa actually uses?
Yeah, it uses PCMIA cards in the back
Bloody hell!
because
Okay,
it's old school. Yeah.
nice.
He knew what I meant. But yeah, so but the MiG 29, so that's that done. The external models, I'm sure they're going to redo those, but they've already got a good place to start from.
Oh, and
And
they've
then
already been showing off the external and interior, what I assume are renders. I don't think we've seen anything in game yet,
mm,
and they look good.
yeah, yeah. For at least for the 29, the 15s obviously C is way further off, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there'll be the. I suspect the at least the 29 isn't a gazillion miles away.
Hmm.
I think that's yeah. They said recently we've learned it's aimed at a Q2 2025 release. So I don't know if it'd be Q2 this year. That would be cool. I mean, how awesome would it be if we got it? Was that Q2's what? April, May, June, July kind of time? Is that right? Is that
Let me
Q2?
see.
Yeah,
May, June.
yeah. April, May, June. I mean, I don't think it will be. I think it'll be a bit further back. But if it is, it'd be like July. But
Right.
yeah, there's a lot on. And there's also stuff we don't know about. Well, you don't know what you don't know. But they've said, was it Wags said that they're working on a helicopter?
There's a helicopter that they've not named.
It's got it. I'm convinced it's the Cobra. I'm
Hmm.
not just saying this. I'm convinced it's the Cobra.
And of
I
course,
can't think what
Polychop
else it is.
were working on another helicopter, but who knows?
Who knows? I mean, it was sort of leaked that they were. I don't know if they were or not working on the Osprey. That was all a bit weird because that came out
Osprey.
about when. Yeah, there was a
Ooh.
thing on the. Do you remember when there was all the hoo ha with those guys and it came out on Hoggit or something? They were saying that they were working on Osprey, but You know,
That's pretty advanced. I wouldn't.
yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to try and tackle the Osprey.
yeah. There's a lot on there. I think they put some not screenshots of what they're working on, but they claimed that that was what they were working on. Whether they are or not, I mean, I don't.
Hmm.
I wasn't aware of that being the case or not. At least from when I was dealing with them. Oh, there. The other one is the Kafir. There's that one as well,
Oh,
isn't
I
it? The
keep
DCS
forgetting about
Kafir.
that one because we've heard
Mm.
nothing about it recently.
Yeah, there's a bunch of. So the ones we've barely heard anything about is the Sky Raider, the F-104. Although there was some renders of the cockpit, if I remember rightly. The A1 Sky Raider we've heard like very little on.
Mhm.
The G91 we've heard not a lot on as well. Although there was a couple, there was one where we were like, "What's spot the difference?" Wasn't there? But there was the various versions,
Yeah,
and
there
we're
was
like,
like
"What is
three
it?"
different versions that are very, very
Yeah,
similar. Yeah, they did actually. They gave a fairly detailed update earlier in the year, so I guess
yeah.
we've heard about the GNet one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's there's bits coming, but
Mhm.
I think if I was to put my money out there, I'd say the next modules out will be probably the LA-7,
Oh yeah,
which is a
yeah.
weird one because it's like a Russian World War II plane, and we don't. I know we've got Caucasus because every time I say this, someone says, "Well, we got the Caucasus, we got Cold War Germany."
Nobody flies
Like,
Caucasus.
yeah, nobody flies Caucasus. What are you on about? But yeah, it's a weird one for World War II thing. But anyway, that's fine.
Mhm.
But I reckon it'll be LA-7 potentially. I reckon the F4U Corsair, the Corsair 1 at least. I don't think that's a gazillion miles away. And then I reckon probably. I'd be curious to see where that Bow 105 is, but that's a murky
Oh,
one, isn't it? It's a real murky one, that.
I'll believe it when I see it in game,
Mm,
and I don't think
yeah.
we've ever seen it in game.
Yeah, yeah. And Viking Cat, they didn't cancel the Sky Raider. It was the PC9 and the North Australia
Yeah,
what got cancelled. That was who was the developer for that? I can't remember what they were called now. What were they
don't care
called?
about the Australia map, but the PC9 hurt me.
Yeah, that was a shame. That was a
Yeah.
shame because that would have been a good little, even an analog for your sort of Tucano-y kind of.
I still occasionally fly the community mod Super Tucano, which
Yeah.
hasn't had that much development recently, but is fairly complete. It's actually not
Mm,
bad.
mm,
Yeah, I like that plane.
yeah. So no, yeah, it's that's all I was going to do is just touch on where we're at with a bunch of stuff because I don't know if there's anything we've missed, but it's interesting to know where things are progressing.
Mhm.
And actually, someone said in chat earlier on, I can't remember who it was. There's Ugra Media have been absolutely pumping out videos of
Oh,
Cold War. Like
yeah.
there's one that just went out. I just saw now 3 hours ago of flying an F5 over
Pi-
Hanover.
Pink
So
Floyd
yeah,
was calling
Pink
it
Floyd.
Ugra Media. Yeah, he said, "Have you seen all 200 of Ugra's Germany videos? Hopefully, we get a release in the coming weeks."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's going to be cool. Definitely excited for that. That's going to be perfect for the Apache, obviously.
Oh yeah, oh god, yeah. Like that's gonna be great for a bunch of aircraft, and I think also, I think that's probably the next module.
Fly,
If we're taking maps in,
yeah,
that's gonna be the next module.
fly some A10s with that nice old school green camo.
Euro, is it Euro one or is it whatever it's called? It's like green on the top and the bottom, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
just
Yeah,
flat green. I think they look great like that. I think that's a
I
really
love it.
nice paint scheme.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm,
Alrighty. Well, yeah,
yeah.
that's all the news that we have for this week. So, if you haven't already, very important, please subscribe, like, and comment. I really appreciate the support from all of you. Also, you have the option of joining Deephack's ground crew for a small monthly fee. If you click the join button below, please consider doing that if you can. You don't have to, but if you want to do me a solid, that'd be great. And
Don't shit yourself.
don't
Just give
shit.
them some money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll do the big shout out to the ground crew after. I now have the VAF video back. It was on another hard drive, and I managed to get it back. So let's do my pimp the VAF segment of the video, and this is where John will disappear. I apologize.
Uh,
But yeah, the VAF, or the Virtual Air Force, is a virtual online squadron originally founded by myself and Dot Chuckles many moons ago. We're generally flying on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at around about 8 p.m. UK time. We operate in European time zones, and we currently have squadrons for the Harrier, the F-16, and the F-18. We're always looking for more people to join. Hit that Discord link in the show notes below. if you would like to join us. And we're always looking for pilots, controllers, mission makers, livery makers, scripters, all kinds of people. And everybody is welcome to join, whether you fly with us or not. Obviously, 3 Squadron Harrier for the win. So, yeah, that's the BAF. And let me bring John back. There we go. Haha. Marvelous. We'll work this out one day. So, yeah. I've been Deepak, and he's been John Bluer. I'll say it because he probably can't remember. Go to twitch.tv/John Bluer if you'd like to check out what John's been up to, and click the appropriate button on that interface. John, I wonder if you want to give us a wee update on your channel.
Absolutely, yeah. So I just finished up some illustration stuff for Tricky Trigger. I was just doing him some new designs, and I streamed all of that, and I wrapped that up yesterday, I think, actually. So that was a really cool little segue away from sort of DCS streaming. So that was cool. That was an F-16, and it looks really cool. You're going to see, hopefully, I'll be working with Tricker a bit more on this, but you're going to see those graphics popping up on things. I think it's already his YouTube banner. I think he's already put it on his YouTube banner, but it's going to be popping up in various bits whenever he's going to use it. So that was cool. That was a really cool illustration project. And then now I'm going to be sort of getting back into DCS streaming. So generally speaking, I tend to do PvE servers, multiplayer. I tend to do rotary ring, although I do love the Harrier. I would love to get into more aircraft. I just got to get round to it. As you know, sometimes there's only so much bandwidth in your brain to learn various things.
Yeah,
and
true.
I feel like the Apache and the Kiowa and Harrier have kind of taken up most of that kind of real estate in my brain. I actually had someone in a Discord the other day who was like, "How do you do this in the Kiowa?" And I could recall it mentally. And as much as I was kind of like happy to help him, I also had a moment afterwards. I was like, "This is really sad. I know, I know the MFD pages in my brain. I need to go out and touch some grass." Immediately right now. But so yeah, but that's what I do on Twitch is mostly that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's cool. It's good laugh.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Yes, go and give John some support. He deserves it.
And I will be streaming after this. Yes, yeah,
whoa.
I'll be streaming straight after this. Yeah.
Okay. And a big shout out to Deepak's ground crew. Thank you all very, very much. Your support really, really helps. Actually, everybody's support really, really helps. Thank you so much. Even if you just subscribe, like, or comment, that's free. You can do that. But thank you to Deepak's ground crew. Thank you very much, Channel Right, JR Walker, Fishy's Canal, Mr. Yeti, Sean IM81, John Bluer. I don't know why, but for some reason this particular screen scrolls on its own and I can't make it stop. Tea Kettle Barbecue, Whiskey Dale, Stuart McLean, Mangash, Exorcist, Frantic, Michael, Willow Wilson, Byron Farrow, Osprey, Snooblaren, Whoopaz, Laskin75, Interesting Story, Pink Floyd, Samantha, and Alice. Thank you all very, very much for your support. And thank you for everyone who's watching. It's absolutely fantastic. Thanks for the stream, says Golden Gnu. Is there a stream after this, asks Golden Gnu. There is if you go to twitch.tv/John Bluer. He'll be streaming after this. I don't think I will be. I'm probably going to do a bit of Microsoft Flight Simulator flying later, but I don't know if I'm going to stream that. Interesting story. Have a good Saturday, everybody. Mr. Yeti, really looking forward to doing scouting missions in the Gazelle. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Tricker, my first merch is going to be a thong. John did an outstanding job on it and measured the harm to be an exact replica while wearing it. Nice. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Alrighty. So yeah, thank you all very, very much for watching. I'm Deepak. I normally do a tutorial video every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. UK time. Currently doing a series on the Apache, and I'm detailing the modes of the FCR right now. And that's always followed by the DCS news, which just happens to be this thing that you're watching right now. Thank you all very much for watching. Fly safe, and I'll see you all next time. Ta-ta.
Before you go, someone just donated. Something very nice.
Sergeant O'Neill, thank you very, very much. I learned to fly the Harrier thanks to your videos. Thank you. Whoa! Thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. See you all later. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta, guys.